episode 10 of Good Talks with Bad Moms. We're back into the intro. It's all good. We're doing this together. We're learning together. We are producing together. Pretty live right now. Hey, everyone. I'm going to have my chats open. So today, 10 of Good Talks with Bad Moms. Is that happening there? Or is it happening here too? Look, if it's just happening there, I can ignore it. No? All right. Hi, ladies. Welcome to Bad Moms. Today, I'm flying solo, but it's okay because I have a lot to say. But we're going to keep it under 40 minutes, today's episode, just so we can get through the information. And again, if you have something that you'd want to learn more about, I'd love for you to reach out to me. Which camera should I do? I'd love for you to reach out to me. Either of these. We'll get this down. It'll be seamless next time. So reach out to me. Always available for a good talk. All right. So today's episode, again, which is episode 10, I decided to talk about my business, my coaching business. So I don't even want to call it a business because it's not necessarily a business. I operate, we can collect funds from the services that I provide, but ultimately what I like to think of it as is it's a service. So I'm a personal development coach, and I'm a personal development coach because I proclaimed myself to be. And nobody came and said, hey, Noreen, guess what? You passed your coaching license test and now you can go coach people. Because ultimately what I understood is that I have a responsibility to share what I've learned through my experiences, and not just what I've learned through my experiences, but how I've been able to teach what I've learned through my experiences. I'm able to communicate people's innermost thoughts to them. Because I'm very honest with myself, and when I see the truth in others, I have no problem communicating it back to them. And therefore, through my coaching, I've helped people eliminate the nuances in their life that are causing them to remain stagnant with themselves, that are causing them to have unconfidence in themselves. So my approach is help people and it'll grow. The business will grow by itself. Follow your passion and the money will follow. That's ultimately what I'm looking at it as. As a matter of fact, we had a conversation last night, David and I, my husband and I, about business and what business means. And I feel like being righteous with people and helping them is a form of business, being righteous and helping them, knowing that what you're in it for is not the money, it's for their transformation, because ultimately we live in an unhealthy society, and unhealthy in thought, that is. And what I understood from thought through the Bible is this to do. It's okay, yeah. The thing's freezing, but whatever. See, this is why I don't open my chats, because I get distracted from the chats. So it's all good. They're of the devil, and it's not intended for us to worry about. We're not supposed to be thinking and worrying. We're supposed to be letting go and giving to God. And it's honestly it's so easy to say, let go and give to God. But what you don't understand is how to do that. Okay, you want to let go. You want to give it to God. You don't want to worry. You don't want to have these intrusive thoughts. That's what they're called. You don't want to have these intrusive thoughts. And it's okay to have them. It's just understanding how to find resolution from them, because these intrusive thoughts can cause anxieties. These intrusive thoughts can cause pain, and you live in it repeatedly in your mind. It never gets better. It's just constant repetition of these thoughts, and keeps you in this cycle of stagnancy. That's all that really it is, because there's going to be high times and there's going to be low times in your life. That's supposed to be that way. Your life, you're alive, you're living. You're not going to be, just climbing all the time. But even if you do climb all high all the time and you dip low, the next climb should be higher than the last. And I learned that through financial services. I know. I learned it through financial services. I learned a lot of things through financial services, as a matter of fact. And going into financial services was another reason to expand my, I guess, skill set, because I found that a lot of our people are suffering emotionally and mentally because of the finances, because they don't understand finances. Therefore, they suffer emotionally and mentally. And so getting my license to help people decide their financial structure. And of course, it helped me as well. And by no means am I where I want to be financially, as far as like the structure is concerned. But the fact that I'm working towards it, that I've eliminated so many losses in my life, that I've, purchased property and whatnot, these are all a result of learning things through the financial services industry. And I understood that if I needed this help, there's going to be so many more people who are suffering without understanding their finances. Again, so why am I talking about this? Well, because I experienced all the things that I help people with. I experienced, loss. I have experienced gain. And what kind of loss? I've experienced the death of a mother. I've experienced a financial loss. I've experienced, losing a business. And when I say losing a business, I experienced divorce. Losing a business meaning selling it at a loss, right? And these were all very, I guess, expensive lessons, because you pay with it in so many ways. It's not just financial. You pay with it with time, you pay with energy, you pay with, emotional stress, I suppose. So when we are unaware to all of these things that we're going through, and by the way, awareness is going to help you excel to the next phase of your life, the awareness. You don't have to have all the resources all at once. You don't have to know everything at the same time. But what you do need to have is constant awareness of where you are, because you don't want to be in Delulu land about your life. And, you look back 10 years later, like, oh my God, what was I doing this whole time? What on earth was I doing this whole time? I learned that through my third time around as a motherhood. Like, what was I doing this whole time? And I thought I was so aware, but when you go through another experience, maybe similar to the last few experiences, there's always that one thing that you weren't paying attention to the last 2 times or the last 3 times or whatever many times you went through that experience. And there's always an awareness that needs to be had to gain from those experiences. And becoming a mother for the 3rd time, I learned that I had no idea what I was doing as a mother the first time, the 2nd time. Like, I was so unaware, knowing that what I know now. And of course, that comes from experience. I've been a mother for the last 12 years. Before that, I was a kid. So going from a kid to a mother in like one fell swoop, without any handbooks or guides or even my own mom around to see me through, that made it much more difficult to maneuver and learn and do the correct steps. So, of course, I went through all of it myself, by myself, with my own hand. And I thank God for that, because now I don't have anyone to point at and say they made me do it. And that, by the way, is another form of unawareness. When you say they made me do it, or, I did it because of this person, that means that you're just that unaware about that thing, that no one can make you do anything unless you allow them to. We saw that with 2020 when it rolled around, how people just blindly followed each other. I bet that guy that bought all that toilet paper from Costco, he was just buying it for his restaurant in bulk. And then all these crazy people at Costco saw that guy buying all this toilet paper, and they're like, oh my God, we're gonna need toilet paper. This virus is coming around, and it's gonna like give us the SHITS, as my son is out there listening to me. Not like he's ever not heard me curse, but whatever. We're trying to like maintain, bad moms. So the guy ends up buying all this toilet paper, and all the sheep start worrying that they're not going to have anything to wipe their ass with. Sorry, he's laughing. They're worried about that. They start buying out the toilet paper, and and it proves to us, it proves how we are so simple-minded, how we don't use critical thinking, how we are led to the end of the cliff by, the masses. And that all came from unawareness. Because I never bought more toilet paper than I needed. I never bought more supplies than I needed. Because I don't know why or how, but I had given it to God because I was not a believer at that time. But all the actions of mine led me to this life of being a believer. And to be honest, that's what also helped me learn that I need to teach people the things that I've learned, because I was an atheist before. And I've said this before, if you're following my show, I was an atheist for so many years, and I don't know how or why, but I do know how. I do know why. Because there was no life at the end of the atheist road. There was nothing. And not only because there was nothing that you could explain anymore. So when you turn around from that nothing and you're like, oh my God, there's so many explanations from where I was running away from. Like, all the explanation is there. It's just we didn't want to admit that this was the explanation. And so my own, not admitting that was the explanation, that was the way, the truth, like, what your truth, by the way. Someone sent me a meme today. It's like, oh, you're not living your truth. You have to live the truth. And the truth is Jesus. It's God. But when you're an atheist, you live your truth. When you're not a believer or follower of God and you haven't let Jesus into your heart and life, you are living your truth. And your truth is nothing more than corruption, because it's not what God wants for you. So when I didn't understand that before, I was living my truth. I was a feminist. I was a liberal. I was an atheist. I was a, Democrat, liberal. You name all the crap that you list, that's what I was. All the crap is what I was, because I was indoctrinated into that system. And I thought I was so aware. I thought I was a conspiracy theorist. But I believed in also abortion. I didn't believe in abortion. I didn't mind abortion. And I even had one as late as 2019. And when I finally got, when I finally came to God, when I finally allowed God into my heart, I was like, what this is not the way that I want to live my life. This is not what I believe in. I don't, I know I'm going to pay for the murder of that child unless I redeem myself some way, somehow. But I'm willing to take the responsibility of having murdered that child when I get to heaven. And another reason why I decided to coach is because I wanted to teach people accountability. I feel like we as a people are so unaccountable, and we turn around and say, oh, well, no, I'm not the one doing it, or I'm not the problem here, when in reality, you, in fact, are the source of the problem. A lot of people want to say, oh, my ex is a narcissist, and you are too. You're the biggest narcissist, because you fail to see your own narcissism and how it contributes to your ex's narcissism. You got to see what kind of a crap you're coming out of, like what you smell like, before you start saying, hey, this room smells, So I had to check myself. I checked myself a lot. And through doing that, I was able to amicably divorce my husband. Look, I committed so many sins, like 7 out of the 10 deadly sins have been committed by me. I won't tell you which 3 I haven't committed. All right. But 7 of them have been committed. And I'm sorry, my son, you heard it here first. Probably won't see you at the other end of the pearly gates. You go on right ahead. Be a saint. Oh, my hair got stuck. Anyway, admitting your faults, admitting that you have problems, admitting that you are less than what you'd like to be. Because then if you are not aware where you're coming from, where your starting point is, how are you ever going to build? How are you ever going to eliminate things? How are you ever going to show yourself? How are you going to ever measure yourself with yourself if you don't know what it is that you need to add, subtract? So what I started doing was I started taking accountability for my actions, being honest with myself about everything, being honest with everyone around me. My husband says, you're crazy. How do you do it where you just say it so straightforwardly? And it's the only way I know how. It's the only way I know how, because there's not room left for BS. There's not room left for riffraff. If you and I are standing in front of each other and we're talking, we don't need to have small talk. We can dive in, get to the nitty gritty. It's more fun for me that way. That's how I operate. You want to go have lunch with me and let's talk about something? Let's order our lunch and let's start talking. We don't need to finish eating. We don't need to be full. We need to be talking. So for me, it's the only way. And with my coaching, I actually help people learn how to communicate with each other, how to effectively relay the message to one another, because that's another problem that personal development helps solve is communication. When you're able to effectively tell your heart and mind to someone, especially if you're trying to, change a situation, let's say, for example, a marriage that's going downhill right now because you both cannot see eye to eye, nor can you communicate why you can't see eye to eye and help fix that. So I've helped couples who have had issues with their communication learn what each is saying to the other, and they're able to then work their problems out. So it's not so much like, oh, you need to know what you're saying. Of course you do. But you need to know how you're saying it as well. And that's what personal development coaching has helped for me, and it's helped my clients. I've had clients who have had suicidal ideations. We've talked about these things with them, and we've understood that there's layers to everything, but we've helped talk about their thoughts, and by talking about their thoughts, right, processing it out, they were able to see that thought as it was a small rock at the end of the session instead of like a huge boulder on their shoulder, on their mind, on their head. So there's a lot of benefit in hiring a personal development coach who actually understands where you're coming from and sees where you're coming from and cuts all the BS. I'm talking about me, of course, and gets straight to the point. And my sessions I don't like to have more than 10 sessions in bulk, to be honest, because if I can't help you in those 10 sessions, then that means that it's something beyond my scope. And that's where I'll be honest with you. I don't necessarily want to reel you in and keep you going as a lifelong client like some of these, psychologists, psychiatrists do. I mean, look, I don't have a problem with psychologists and psychiatrists if they are honest about what they're doing, honest about their job. And, there's coaches that lie too, of course, but using the guise of, oh, I have a license or I have a degree from some sort of institution that we all know they're just factories. A lot of these people regurgitate the information they learn and do not take it a step ahead and customize it to the client's need. Or they'll cut the sessions, or not even cut, sorry, they'll spread the sessions out longer than it needs to go. And you might have your clinical explanation for doing that, but from my experience, having been hired as a coach, I've helped people in those 10 sessions, completely 180 shift. Shout out to 180 Shift, Red Angeles Network. You guys better be following and watching all of our homies here. Anyway, I digress, back to the topic. I've seen a 180 shift in these people who have hired me to coach them in those 10 sessions. And now we have like a la carte sessions in between. Like they'll book me here and there just to like smooth out their thoughts. And, people live through their lives like that. And now they're conducting their lives without the anxiety of that thought burdening them. Because guess what? There's a lot of honesty. There's a lot of reflection. There's a lot of straightforwardness in the conversations. So maybe the psychologists and psychiatrists would be upset for me having made these statements, but I would hire a coach faster than I would hire a psychologist or psychiatrist. Just because. Oh yes, how funny! See, this is amazing. So I digress about you psychiatrists and psychologists too. I know you have a lot of things to say about coaches. It's okay. We're good. We're like firefighters and policemen. We're all doing the same thing, just different ways. This here is my Instagram page, the Women's Portal. The Women's Portal started in 2021, summer of, and it's been going since then. Gosh, I hope it was 2021, not 2022, right? Yeah, 2021. And it's been going since then. We meet twice a month. As you can tell, it's the Women's Portal. It's a coaching group for women. And we meet twice a month. We haven't met in the last 5 months because I gave birth and, I was raising a baby. Still raising her, but now she's more like I can hold her now, like this. Anyway, the Women's Portal, we meet, we paint, we eat, we drink, and we discuss our paintings with one another in a group coaching session. And I'm actually going to have some of the women of the Women's Portal, they become members, to be honest with you. We have members now. And it's such a great feeling. We've always had members, but these people are committed. We cycled out a few women in the last 3 years, which it's supposed to be that way. You're supposed to come, learn, and go. You don't want to be stuck in a program, everyone. But this group of women are now like, we become friends with one another, and we go to each other's personal private events. And I love that. I love that about this community we've built. And I want more people to know about it, so that way they can revel in this group as well. So I'll have some of the women join me on here on this beautiful table to talk about their experience at the Women's Portal. But I won't talk too much about that. If you want to follow, if you want to see some of the videos, some of the meetings that we've had, it's at the Women's Portal on Instagram. We'll be meeting again October 9th. So if you're interested, please do go ahead and send me a message. It's not a public event. It is a private event, and it does cost a little bit of money, not too much. It's $35 to join, and it includes food, painting, and drinks. I digress about that now. Amazing. Let me see if anyone has any questions. Nope, no one has questions. Great. So back to coaching. I wrote my book, The Boss of Me, in 2020. It was published. And 2020? Yeah, 2020 it was published. And from The Boss of Me, after it was published and released, people started buying it. I got a lot of great reviews from women and even men who read that. And if you go on to Amazon, all of the reviews none of them were coerced. Everyone wrote them on their own recognizance, and they all loved it and they all resonated with it. And I love that. I want to write more books like that. I've written 2 books, but I want to write more books like that where it resonates with the people who are picking it up, no matter what walk of life they're in. From that book, I started getting hired as a personal development coach. And I've built lifelong, long-term relationships with these people. And the reason why we have such a strong relationship together, my previous clients and I, is because I honor them and they honor me. And I honor them in the sense that I get into their shoes and then I'm able to help them walk past where they think that they can't go past. So I go to them. I don't make them come to me, if that makes sense. I want for all of my clients to be doing well with their lives. Of course, who goes into helping people to not see that through? I know some people, but anyway. Relationship building is another technique, is another skill that you will learn in hiring a personal development coach. Yes, you could do this all by yourself. Everything can be done by yourself. In the very beginning, I did not hire coaches. I actually decided to go into coaching, and then I started hiring coaches for myself. But the relationships that I built with people who hired me and the relationships I built with people whom I hired, that helped me elevate myself so that way I can go back and help people elevate themselves. So I cherish those relationships. Now I'm gonna wrap it up with the relationship, but I cherish the relationship building part of it the most because that is like what I take to the bank, not the money. The money they paid me is done and spent, but that relationship that I built with that person who hired me, who let me in on their life, who let me understand themselves from a perspective that they won't share with anyone, that to me is priceless. So I honor that and I take that to the bank, not the money. The money is so irrelevant at this point that when I talk to previous clients and they tell me they love me, like, what money? You know what I'm saying? Money will come. Will come in so many different ways. But this coaching service that I've dived into, so to say, this is something that is going to help me as a person, help me grow as a person, help my wealth, I suppose, because your network is your net worth. And coaching people, building these relationships, it's increased my network. And therefore my net worth, and I feel it rising daily, especially when you give yourself in service to someone else. So that's what coaching is. That's another thing that coaching is. You give yourself in service to others, and it's very parallel to what Jesus wants us to do. Like he said, follow me, and then give yourself in service to others. And so we all have to find a way to do that. We all have to get creative some way. Some people paint, and that painting brings joy to someone else. But what we incorporate in the Women's Portal, for example, is teachings of Jesus. It's not so much that it's a Christian-based coaching group, but everything is under the umbrella of Jesus and Christ and just the teachings of Jesus. But it's not necessarily Christian-based. Does that make sense? We do everything under Christ. I don't know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to say we incorporate life and we add, and it's all under Jesus. We incorporate life into the, Jesus Christ, into the teachings. All right. You guys, okay. So it's not necessarily local only. If you're local around Glendale, I have people that come from Long Beach, Manhattan Beach, who have joined us a few times actually. So you can also join on Zoom if you'd like, although I wouldn't want to do it. So then I guess it's local, but like we've gone as far as Long Beach, Manhattan Beach. If you're willing to drive, it's up to you. But it is going to be in LA. So the Women's Portal meetings. Thank you, Christian. All right. Well, before I go, because I want to keep it under a certain amount of time. I want you to be able to recognize yourself in a crowd, in a room full of people. What coaching has helped solidify for me in my life, and by helping others, I help myself. I'm able to recognize all of me in the crowd of people. I don't need to blend, but I can if I want to. And I stand out because I feel good about myself. And I recognize myself where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are. Of course, I always fall back on my strengths because that's just the default mode I'm in. And I recognize who I am in the crowd and what I can give and what I can do for others and who I can be for others and who I am for myself. Because who I am for myself is what determines who I'm going to be for others. And I quite enjoy the life I've created for myself, who I am, because ultimately it's recognizing who you are and creating that life that fits who you are. And it's so freeing, honestly. I have no idea about what anyone else wants me to be like. I can only understand what I want myself to be like. I criticize myself in a healthy manner, and I praise myself in a healthy manner. And that's one thing you can also learn through personal development coaching, hiring a coach such as Coach Nar, third person. I love what I do, and I only anticipate to get better at it. And I would love for you and I to help each other grow through hiring me as your coach. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. This was a short episode. I appreciate all of you who watched now, who watched later. Doesn't matter. And if you have any questions, any concerns, if you want to hire me as a coach, I'd love to have that opportunity. I do offer a complimentary sessions. Well, one complimentary session, and they're very affordable, but we'll talk about that later, you guys. I'm very raw at this. As you can see, I'm not quite the salesman, but I do want to offer my services, and this episode was mostly promo for that. So thank you. God, I gotta stop at like narrating what I'm doing because that just sucks. It doesn't make for a good show, but it's okay. We'll get better at this. You guys, thank you. Thank you. That's sign language for thank you. I appreciate you. And please subscribe to Red Angeles. Please subscribe to Red Angeles Network on YouTube and all other streaming services. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll see you guys again next week. I'll have a guest next week. I'll let you know who it is. Oh, should I say it now? Nah, we'll let you know. We'll send the flyer out. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to go back to my babies.